Donald Trump, the former president of the United States of America, was arrested the other day. What's your thoughts?
Well, it's nothing new, is it?
Well, he got arrested.
I think it's getting extremely concerning.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me that we need to differentiate between what I regard as reasonably trivial matters, in my own opinion, although I'm not a judge or a lawyer, and what are very serious matters.
Yeah.
And my own view, part of the problem with Trump is that there are so many indictments now that it's beginning almost, there's beginning to be a fatigue effect, not just amongst his own supporters, but I think broader than that, which is, so what? He's been indicted yet again.
Exactly. Every indictment he gets, he goes up in the polls.
Well, he goes, hold on, I think we need to be very careful.
Yeah.
He goes up amongst the Republican base. I don't think there's any evidence he goes up in the polls amongst the American people.
Okay,
this is a great myth, you see, that people want to pump out. It's absolutely true. Within the Republican Party, this is having very little effect on Trump's popularity.
Yeah.
But what they need to have an eye to is the independent, middle-of-the-road voters. And they refused to vote for Trump in the last presidential election. And I think whatever concerns they may have about Joe Biden, and they will have about his perhaps seniority, for example, they are extremely reluctant to turn to Trump as the alternative. So what I think we need to focus on is the charges to do with trying to apply inappropriate pressure to find votes, i.e. corruptly, in that state, was totally out of order in any democracy, totally without justification. And it's sad to see so few Republicans with the guts and the courage to say that. The incitement of people to attack Congress, completely out of order, and his refusal to do anything to stop them. Not in any democracy by any standards, totally unfit to govern after you've behaved in that way. However, there are two problems. You then look at trivial charges to do with his private life and to do with perhaps retaining some of those documents, which I personally think he shouldn't have done. It's quite serious, but I'm not sure he should have been indicted on those issues, the private life and the documents. It looks over the top a little bit. And the other problem with this is, even though there's a tremendous amount of evidence that support these prosecutions and a grand jury of ordinary Americans that had to trigger the process that enables a prosecution to go ahead, by the way, don't forget that. Because in America, prosecutors are political. They're politically elected. They're members of political parties. It allows Donald Trump and his supporters to say, look at what these Democrats are doing to poor old Donald. And this is a very, very strong warning to those who would want to politicise a judicial system. And I'm talking now about Israel. Be careful what you wish for, because even though it may well be these people are not behaving in a political way whatsoever, because they are politically elected and politically aligned, it enables Trump supporters to cancel their validity, their legitimacy in terms of the prosecutions that they're taking forward. So look, we've got a tremendous way to go. I think it's very sad that the Republican Party is not standing up to him, that nobody's got the courage. I mean, those are the candidates with shockingly
There's only one,
weak.
I think, Christie. Yeah.
Christie's got some level of courage. The rest of them, frankly, are pretty shameful. I think what he did, the telephone call, where he says, find me the votes.
I mean, 11.
I mean, that's not kind of made up. It's not invented. No. It's what he did.
Yeah.
Okay. The incitement to attack the Congress, we heard the language that he used. So these things are not invented by some lefty, liberal, woke conspiracy. But that's what they will continue to say. And although I said, I think, on your programme some months ago that I thought they would reach a tipping point where he couldn't actually end up being the Republican presidential candidate, I'm beginning to doubt that now. I think that America is heading for a major constitutional crisis. And how that constitutional crisis plays out remains to be seen. But I do think he's likely to end up as the Republican candidate. By the way, there's all sorts of questions about whether you can keep him off the ballot paper, because there's certain charges in America which means you are disqualified actually for being a candidate for office, which has not yet been focused on in the United States or outside of the United States. But this has the capacity to, I'm afraid to say, massively weaken the United States and fan the flames of division when we need a strong America. Whether it's to do with fighting, whether it's standing up for Ukraine, whether it's standing up for Israel and other Middle Eastern countries when they have to deal with the Iranian situation, which is almost inevitable. Yeah. A weak, divided America is very, very bad news for democracy around the world. And that's what would worry me. But I'll be honest, I can't see an obvious or easy way out of this as long as the Republican establishment are unwilling to stand up to Donald Trump.
Well, I agree with every word Ivan said, because the Republican Party has lost its spine, the establishment. Trump is going to be the candidate. He has 40 points lead over DeSantis, and DeSantis' polls are actually going down.
Yeah.
It's now Vivek
Ramaswamy.
Yeah. He's coming up. Although I didn't understand his beef with Israel. We'll touch on that later, maybe. He was very anti-Israel. Anti-Israel Republican candidate was a bit, not anti-Israel, but he wanted to defund Israel, take the funding away, which was, okay, we'll touch on that later. Coming back, I think the fact that, and credit to the Democratic Party, that they have been able to sell this myth that now Trump even believes that every time he gets indicted, his poll numbers go up, which is actually not true. He now believes that every time anytime he goes to court, the only polls he goes up in is the Republican polls, the Republican primary polls. Sure. And the Democrats are playing on that. The Democrats now are full on believing that, okay, if Trump becomes the Republican candidate, they're going to win the election. So they want Trump to win it. And also the other thing is, let's say if it goes to a constitutional crisis and it goes to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court is Trump-backed.
Yeah.
So
he has a majority.
They have a 6-3 majority.
Again, so politicization of the courts. This is the risk.
He will definitely be on the ballot.
Yeah.
Whether as the Republican candidate or the third-party member, that remains to be seen. Or a third-party candidate, but he will definitely be on that ballot. And I see a Joe Biden victory.
You see Joe Biden beating him?
Well, I see Joe Biden winning the next election. Beating him or not, I see the Republican Party self-imploding, like the Conservatives here.
You see, I think a lot of your listeners don't get necessarily the situation in America. They see all these big rallies. They see that he was supportive of Israel, the Abraham Accords, etc., which is true. I mean, the Abraham Accords are a remarkable achievement. Okay, but when you hear about all this support he has, it's within his own party.
Yeah.
The independent voters. So probably 35% of Americans vote Republican, 35% vote Democrat, that is 30% in the middle. The vast majority of those middle-of-the-road independent voters who will determine the outcome of the election are turned off by Donald Trump. Now, I'm not saying they're turned on by Joe Biden, by the way, but if it's a choice, they will probably hold their nose and vote for Biden rather than Trump.
You mentioned Vivek Ramaswamy before.
Yeah.
So if you noticed during the Republican debate, the presenter asked them if Donald Trump were to get indicted, who would you help them? And Vivek was the only one that put his hand up. Square. I mean, at least he's got guts. Of course, it's not. The decision might be.
Well, he put his hand up and said what? Sorry?
He said he was the only candidate in the stage that fully put his hand up and said, "I will support Donald Trump and I will help Donald Trump out of prison."
He'll give him a pardon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my view about that, by the way, just so we're clear, is that if a Republican candidate other than Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, he will almost certainly pardon Donald Trump, in my opinion. Yeah. You can factor that in. Yeah. He or she. Could be Nikki Haley.
Yeah. Well, with Nikki Haley, I don't think it's. I think the Republican Party still has a lot of sexism, especially the base, and I don't think it will be Nikki Haley. But Vivek Ramaswamy, I saw like first half of the debate. I didn't see the whole debate. He was trying to be the new Trump. He was like, I'm the outsider, the same tricks. Sure. Yeah, he was saying, I'm the outsider, I am this, I'm that.
And he used his quick pips again.
Yeah. Like he thought very carefully about how to make an impact.
Yeah. And he was trying to appeal to the Trump voters that, if Trump becomes unelectable because of his court cases, come to me. I think that was his pitch.
And he did well. I think there's potential Trump voters went up for him as a second option.
Well, as the second option, I saw that as well.
The others are very bland, very boring.
Yeah.
He knew that.
Yeah.
So he played to the gallery. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Will it work with Trump's eliminated? I'm not sure. But he certainly did well in that particular debate. I wouldn't get too carried away.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either, but the worst part was DeSantis. He was like, I don't want to go. Anything else, even on abortion, on like abortion, on the economy.
Yeah.
He's not committing to any policies. What is he standing for?
As well as that, like you said, they were all planned. You're expecting
Very
Ron
blunt.
DeSantis,
The debate was terrible.
yeah, especially Ron DeSantis. You expected him to be out there, but he was
The great winner was Donald Trump from the debate. There's no question about that.
especially for not turning up. And then with
Well-
Tucker Carlson, they got over 250 million impressions on Twitter.
Yeah, really.
So that was okay. And then
Formerly Twitter, now X.
now X, yeah, exactly.